Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
It's Thursday, March 26th. Happy birthday, Teddy Pendergrass. Happy birthday, Diana Ross. I'm Greg Carr, sitting in for Roland. And here's what's coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Congresswoman Summer Lee and other members of the House launched the People's Environmental Justice Caucus today. This new congressional caucus will address the environmental harms that disproportionately affect frontline communities. The twice-impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief, college dropout, Donald the Con Trump, had the audacity to call California Governor Gavin Newsom stupid during today's cabinet meeting. Newsom's response, classic. We'll explain how New York Attorney General Letitia James is getting targeted again by the Trump administration. While mortgage rates were expected to decline this year, the war in Iran has caused them to spike, complicating affordability for American homebuyers. Experts warn that artificial intelligence could widen the racial wealth gap. We'll speak with a man who emphasizes that training is key to bridging this gap. I'll have a conversation with the founder and executive director of the Center for Black Literature about the 18th Annual International Black Writers Conference at Medgar Evers College, and it's free. So those of you in the New York area, why don't y'all check it out. In tonight's Shop Black Star Network segment, we'll feature Created Collections, an artisan lifestyle brand that curates earth-rooted, soulfully made goods to inspire intentional living and everyday beauty. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Earlier today, Representatives Summer Lee, Rashida Tlaib, and Adelita Grijalva officially launched the People's Environmental Justice Caucus. This new congressional caucus will focus on advancing policies that center community leadership and address environmental harms, disproportionately impacting frontline communities across the country. Serving as a platform for members of Congress to collaborate with community leaders, advocates, and policy experts to advance environmental justice legislation, the caucus will ensure that federal policies reflect the needs and priorities of the communities most impacted by environmental harm. It will also help strengthen federal environmental justice protections and develop a community input process to shape the next iteration of the Environmental Justice for All Act, which will be called the Donald McEachin Environmental Justice for All Act. Here's what Congresswoman Lee had to say during today's news conference about the importance of the caucus.
I don't think I have to tell anybody in here how critical this moment is. We were in a critical moment
before we entered into this administration. The times were critical and have been critical for some time. We know that the climate crisis, as we've been saying, has been existential, and now that we are in the midst of an authoritarian takeover of our government, it is more important than ever that we be rooted in this work, that we not run from it, and no matter how hard it is, that we rededicate ourselves to this. And when we talk about the various levels of discouragement that we're going to get and that we will see, we know, right? Last Congress and for the last few years, the work that you all have been doing did result in tangible change and tangible victories that we saw. So to see and to feel that that work is now being rolled back, that is being attacked, and that the progress that we made has been stalled can be incredibly discouraging. But we also know that we are built for this moment. We know that the work that it took us to get to those successes and those victories was not slight in the first place. So I know that this movement is still built for this. I know that we still have that fight in us, and whether we are tackling it at the federal level or if we're tackling at our locals, our states, that we all have some work to do right now. So I just want to be honest, as we talk about what Donald Trump has done, as he's ruled as an authoritarian, he has gutted, and we've seen it, he's gutted the endangerment fund, and he's weakened our pollution limits. He's been handing out exemptions. And let's be honest about who his policies are for, because we know it's not for our communities, it's not for our kids, it's not for our elders, it's not for working families. We know that it's for fossil fuel executives, it's for corporate CEOs, it's for his donors who helped him to get back into office.
Let's jump right into it and bring our panel in. Dr. Nola Haynes from Georgetown University School of Foreign Service in Washington, D.C., Brother Mondale Robinson, Principal, Black Male Voters Project, and Mayor, Enfield, North Carolina, and of course our sister Reese Colbert, host the Reese Colbert Show, Sirius XM Channel 126, where talk empowers and becomes action, from Washington, D.C. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you, Dr. Carr? Good to see you. Good to see everybody.
Always good to see you.
Today's good.
Nola, these people, I know one of these cases, we got these high profile cases we saw back in the spring of 2025 in Alabama, dealing with flooding there, and how the EPA, well, the Department of Justice, backed up out of the agreement they had. And in July of that same year, we saw Tennessee with Elon Musk and his adventures, people trying to stop that. In February of this year, we all remember, I think it was a Thursday night when the sister came on, they have that lawsuit in progress in Cancer Alley in Louisiana. And then last October, Mississippi, with these wood pellets and folks trying to get into court to stop them, this UK firm from damaging the environment. Nola, any thoughts about this latest front on the political side for these sisters coming together trying to create some energy on the legislative side to kind of push back against some of this stuff?
Listen, I love it. Environmental racism is real. Coming from New Orleans, Hurricane Katrina, my family is still rebuilding from the Altadena fires and what's happening to Black families in Altadena due to climate disruption and climate crisis, right? So I unfortunately have a very, very deep connection with the way environmental injustice and environmental racism plays out. And Summer Lee is one of my congressional sheroes. And I think this is wonderful because what that says to me is, regardless of this very tense and challenging environment, they are fighting for the people. Because as we talk about AI, as we talk about more centers that are needed to power and to fuel all of these massive AI plants, and we're not even going to get into quantum and all of these different things, but all of those things are typically situated in communities of color, right? In low-income communities. And now that we are ramping up munitions and all that stuff, we're going to see more factories. We're going to see more building of conventional, and I really hope not weapons of mass destruction. So this is layered. So I am happy to see them doing what they are doing, because it tells me that they are fighters and they are doing the hard thing in a very, very challenging time. So I'm here for it.
Wonderful. Mayor Mondale, it's interesting, the same month of July that we saw folks in Tennessee pushing back against Musk and his nefarious plans. Right there next door in North Carolina, seems to me I recall you and some photo ops getting some solar panels and getting some clean energy stuff going there in Halifax County in Enfield. We know that's right next door to the place they say is the birthplace of environmental justice. Talk to us perhaps even in the context of this war with Iran, Israel and United States, well, Bibi and Bozo, versus Iran, and maybe this choking off of oil might drive some people toward clean energy. But you've got some experience with that. Talk to us about what this caucus might mean in terms of maybe even pushing us toward some of those sustainable solutions.
Listen, I'm going to say it like this, Doc. You're right. I am the mayor of Enfield, which is next door to Warren County, which is in 1982. Everybody understand how Black women led that fight to ensure that PCB would not be put in their backyard. And I think when people ground that as the modern or the beginning of the modern environmental justice movement, it said something, especially when you think about the creation of this caucus. This caucus, to me, makes me feel wonderful in that Black people may be getting closer to reparations. Now, I know my FBA brothers want to hear reparations directly, but anything that will require people to study the harms against my people seems like it's going to lead to justice for my people. So that's why I'm super excited about this. And what I think is happening with this oil, what we see is it's no longer just harming to our environment to use dirty oil. It's also economically stupid to tie ourselves to something that can be damaged and cause international harm like it is right now. What we're doing in Enfield is we're trying to think beyond just solar, though. We're also trying to see how we could dig 30, 40 feet down and use geothermal. We just got our first funding to become the first 10 thermal energy network owned by utility in the state of North Carolina. So I'm super excited about what rural communities that have been left out and harmed by these large lobbying firms and also the people they represent doing harm to our environment, seeing how Black people can be on the forefront of changing that. And I think this caucus provides us a voice at the federal level.
Man, I tell you, Reese, with your deep experience in policymaking and knowing how things get done, thinking about how policymakers, congresspeople, and federal legislation are really a part of the equation that really needs to be strengthened as the courts continue to kind of shrink the remedies that can be found. I'm thinking about environmental justice in relation to the 14th Amendment, 13th Amendment cases, even Section 1983, lawsuits that the courts have increasingly narrowed, saying you can't prove that they intentionally put this dumping ground in your community. There's a disparate impact standard that is used in the law that has become increasingly ineffective. Do you have any thoughts about the relationship between perhaps lawmakers, policymakers like we see here, trying to plug some of these holes, and the fact that a lot of this stuff gets dumped in Black communities because they have lower property values and just becomes like a doom loop? How do we break that up, and how maybe can this help?
Well, Dr. Carr, you nailed it, because we have an administration that is hostile to environmental justice. One of their first acts of business was to close the Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights. That was done in February 2025. Then when you pair this administration's hostility towards environmental justice, or the environment period, with what the courts have done, and I remember talking about this maybe 2 years ago, a Ronald Reagan judge was a judge that blocked environmental justice measures in one of these southern states. I don't even remember now, it's so many years ago, but the courts are not coming to save us. This administration is hostile to us. So that leaves the legislature to step in and to make it such that it's not open to interpretation of a Bush judge, of a Trump judge, and it's what the law plainly states. And so absolutely, this is incredibly important that you have legislators that are at the forefront of this. And one of the things Congresswoman Summer Lee pointed out was that it needs to be grassroots activists and grassroots legislators who are driving this, as opposed to corporate lobbyists. So that's another important aspect. But the last thing I'll say on this is that environmental justice is a racial justice issue. And so when we've been through many primaries now and they ask about a Black agenda, and people want to go right to prison and they want to go right to things that are associated with poverty, which are, of course, very important things, but it is also incredibly important what happens in terms of environmental justice. You all have already talked about dumping and things of that nature, cancer. And we're going to have increased impacts, which are going to increase our energy bills, which are going to increase our health disparities. So to have a really competent people who have a cultural competency leading this charge is incredibly encouraging, and I would love to see this caucus grow.
Absolutely. We're all proud of those sisters who have come together. Of course, we know Grijalva, one of the most recent members after the MAGA Muppet, Mike Johnson, wouldn't swear her in. So she's hitting the ground running. And of course, Rashida Tlaib there in Michigan. And as I'm always proud to remind everybody, a proud graduate of the Howard University School of Law, my former student, Summer Lee, who came there like that out of Western Pennsylvania. So it's good to see her. There's some things that you just have to hear, although we probably heard enough to make up our minds. But all right, let's just humor ourselves. Here we are on a Thursday evening. While speaking during Thursday's cabinet meeting, the occupant of the Oval Office, at least what's left of it, took shots at California Governor Gavin Newsom for admitting that he has or had dyslexia. Let's hear.
I don't want a stupid person being president. You know, I'll say it right now. I say it because no press never reports it. I'm the only president that ever took a cognitive test. I took it 3 times. It's actually a very hard test for a lot of people. It wasn't hard for me, but it's a cognitive test. It starts off with an easy question, and by the time you get to the middle, it gets tougher. By the time you get to the end, very few people can answer those questions. They get very tough, mathematical equations and things. I took it 3 times. I aced it all 3 times in front of numerous doctors that I have no idea who they are. And I was told when I went in, they said, Doc Ronnie told me this. My current doctors were fantastic doctors. They said, well, if you take it, you know, it's Walter Reed. It's essentially a public hospital. And if you do badly, it's probably going to get out. But I aced it. I got them all right. And one doctor said, I've never seen anybody get them all right. I've been doing the test for 20 years. I want people, I would love to see anybody that's a president or a vice president or anybody that has any chance of being a president, I would like to see them take a cognitive test. Because we had a man in this office that had no clue what was happening.
Wow, well, we've broken some news tonight on the Black Star Network. Donald Trump resigning live today at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, what's left of it. I didn't see little Marco blink. I'm not sure. His face has turned more and more to a mask. The runt rooster on the other side, though, Pete Hegseth, he's all there for it. Heard he had a prayer meeting at the Pentagon today or somewhere around there. Reese, I feel like you got something to say. Why don't you come in and help us interpret what we just saw?
Oh, I'm so glad I get to go first. Let me just say this. Donald Trump, you have taken multiple cognitive tests because you were old as fuck, bitch. They're worried you have dementia, which I think you probably do. They're just not telling us that because your doc is a crackhead, allegedly. Let me just say that, okay? Yes. Allegedly. Yes. That's why you have taken multiple cognitive tests. We don't normally have old-ass presidents like you. I'm sure Joe Biden, with his old ass, took some tests too, and I'm sure he scored better than you. We're not talking about a Mensa IQ test. I want to know what your IQ is. Why don't you take the Mensa test and then roll it back and let us know where your IQ stacks up against the other presidents? I'm sure it's very, very, very low.
No question. Mondale, what you think, man?
Listen, first of all, he talking about the test is very long. He took the Montreal cognitive test. It's called cognitive assessment. It's literally super short. You remember a short list of names or words. You draw a clock, and that's about it. I mean, you do a couple other things, but that's literally it. It is not meant to measure IQ, as Reese said. It's simply to see if your ass is losing your mind, which he clearly is. Last week, he thought Gavin Newsom was the president of the United States. He didn't even know. So this idea that every time Donald Trump opened his mouth talking about somebody else, he's projecting. This is a perfect example. Stupid president by far. He has to be the dumbest president we've ever had. And actually, he's probably the dumbest president any country has ever had, which is why the world is looking at us at how the hell do these people believe that they are exceptional?
It's a great question. We blame the 90 million that didn't vote. He could have counteracted these white nasties that showed up at the polls to bring their Lord and Master in. Nola, we've seen some pretty stupid people in our lifetimes. Where would you rank this guy?
Are you serious? I'm tired, so I'm liable to say anything. I have two things to say. President projection. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of when you're a kid and that thing you wanted for Christmas, you couldn't get, and everybody else knew you couldn't get it because, you know, your parents weren't able to get it for you. So what you do is, well, you know, the first day of school, you have the reason all figured out, right? You have your excuse all figured out why you didn't get the thing that you wanted for Christmas, right? But everybody we already know you didn't get the thing for Christmas. So you sitting up here lying. That's what president projection does all the time. He projects, he knows people calls him dumb, slow, and stupid. He knows these things. This is him trying to counteract those claims. He's very well aware that people do not think he is smart. This is why this entire conversation is happening. And the second thing that I want to say, I can't even listen to that and watch that. It's so disgusting. The second thing I want to say is, a few months before my mom died in 2023, I had a very serious brain injury. I have been through numerous cognitive exams because something was wrong with my brain. So that is to say, like Reese pointed out, you're not just taking these exams just because there is a reason. There's no one waking up saying, you know what, let me go take an arduous cognitive exam. And I've taken all of them. I've taken the very simple ones that Mondale laid out, and I've taken the really, really long, exhaustive ones, and they are no joke. So, you know, he's sitting here talking about he doesn't want a stupid president because he knows that's what everyone thinks about him. And then actually the last thing that I will say, I actually applaud people who are very honest about what they have going on, because I think that is actually a sign of strength. I think that is a sign of leadership, because there are tons of people out there who aren't, you know, mad geniuses, and that is okay. Maybe if Trump had an ounce of humility, if he understood how to tell the truth, then maybe he wouldn't be so reviled around the world.
That's true.
And can I just say one more thing?
Yeah, please.
Having dyslexia does not make you dumb. Donald Trump is dumb, and he ain't got dyslexia. He just learned differently. Okay. And what we have in this country, because we are in a so-called advanced nation, is we have technology and we have resources and we have mechanisms that help people that have various learning disabilities or different abilities be able to still excel. And I think that Gavin Newsom is a great example of that. He made it to be governor of the largest of one of the top economies in the world, and he's been very successful at that. And so, but you know, Donald Trump consistently communicates a hostility, and he consistently communicates contempt for people that he as president should be trying to protect. But we know that's not what his agenda is, because he has tried to dismantle the education department, which primarily concerns with ensuring that people with learning disabilities are not discriminated against and that they're given ample opportunity to succeed.
Absolutely.
And I also, Dr. Carr, just to add, I think it's also a continuation of how we can label him a fascist and be comfortable with that labeling. Anybody that Donald Trump, like Hitler, they don't see as perfect, he finds a reason to discourage them. I think what Gavin Newsom did was he brought humanity to something that about 10% of the population in this country is suffering from. About 8 million people in his state alone have dyslexia. So him saying that, normalize this for children who are suffering through it, to let them know that, hey, this is not a limitation. It's just something that you have to deal with and figure out how to manage. So I think Donald Trump, again, is isolating people simply because he don't want to see them as different. Well, he does see them as different and less than, simply because he himself is valueless without value.
That's
and you know, since everybody else had another comment, Greg, can I say?
No.
As professors, you know, I don't know if you saw this, but I saw this semester where I had the most amount of accessibility requests.
Oh, yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You know, like it's been the most that I've seen ever, right? So that tells me that students are going through something, that my brilliant students, whatever it is, but they're working it out. You know what I mean? They're getting help. They're using the tools, and their brilliant selves are sitting at Georgetown University in my space security class. So a person who may have a learning, who learns differently is not at all dumb, but that just points to Donald Trump's endless limitations. He cannot distinguish learning differently from being dumb. And the reason why he cannot, because that statement is about himself.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, I've seen more accommodations letter and folks being tested, I think, anytime, by far. And it's probably going to continue in that way. Yeah, for a man whose father, whose brother, if we can trust what his niece and nephew have said, suffered with mental illness or some mental challenges, which is not dyslexia, like you said, some kind of wiring question, but something else, he should probably be quiet. But, you know, when you show narcissistic and sociopathic tendencies, you know, perhaps you can't help yourself. And it would all be fun and games if he didn't have the nuclear launch codes. So I don't know, Reese, maybe we can send our sister Erica Savage out to reframe his brain. If anybody could do it, Erica could do it. You know, maybe I'll talk about that this weekend. Okay. So how can you crack the nut of Donald Trump? Erica, you should, get on that. We need you, sis.
We need to get her on that, yeah.
We need to get her on it, right? All right, this is Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, and we will be right back.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
What's good, y'all? This is Doug E. Fresh, and you're watching my brother Roland Martin Unfiltered as we go a little something like this. Hit it. It's real.
The war with Iran is driving U.S. mortgage rates up for the fourth straight week. Economists expected 2026 to bring lower mortgage rates and more homes for sale after last year's 30-year low in home transactions. Instead, data show the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate rose to 6.38% this week, marking its fourth straight weekly increase and the highest level in over 6 months. It is the largest one-week jump in mortgage rates since April 2025, when markets were affected because of Bozo's initial tariff announcement, Donald Trump. Real estate experts say that higher mortgage rates driven by the conflict in Iran and a weakening job market are making buyers more cautious. Home sales are generally sluggish, but they're generally sluggish in winter months, usually gaining momentum in spring when listings increase and buyers return. By late February, early signs suggested home sales could pick up when rates slipped below 6% for the first time in over 3 years. After the U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran in late February, however, global markets shook, forcing mortgage rates higher. This is a problem. Mayor Robinson, you've had to manage a municipality where folks are trying to live their dreams and in a rural area. I mean, the housing market, are you seeing some of the ripples yet? Or what are folks saying to you as you've seen the markets change here?
Listen, I think, Doc, I think some people might be sitting back thinking this is us reaching, wondering how can a war where people are complaining about the shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz, it cause or be linked to what's going on with mortgages. But people need to understand that that this war equal higher oil prices equal higher inflation equal higher interest. And as simple as that. Don't let people make you think this is hard to explain. Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu's war on the Middle East and Iran and brown people, because Benjamin Netanyahu is still bombing people in Gaza and also Lebanon. It is a war that is causing your life to be more expensive. And for a president that ran on affordability, he's failing epically at doing that. This is nothing to flinch or blink your eye at. I tell people all the time, the best billboard to look at what's going on with gas is when you drive past gas stations, look at the price of gas. And it is real. For people that live in my town, one of the poorest towns in America, this is a direct effect. When oil cost reaches the gas pumps, and gas is probably a significant portion of people's weekly earning, Donald Trump should damn well be held accountable for this. And I think the first chance people get to really hold him accountable is in the midterms. And we're going to see that. I think my people are definitely upset with the price of gas, like other people across this country.
Yeah, people are nervous. Like you said, I mean, every dollar you put in the gas pump is one check away from being able to pay a mortgage. And people are trying to hedge their bets. They don't know when to invest in trying to buy a home. And so maybe they're going to hold off. Nola, are you're from an area of the country where folks have to pivot very quickly in the face of natural disaster, but you're also from an area of the country where you know the relationship between energy prices and energy costs and things like buying a house. What do you see on the horizon?
Well, one of the things that I'm also paying attention to, it's not just the regular middle and then the super. I'm also looking at the diesel costs, because what that signals to me is supply chain issues in terms of the way that costs are spiking for the men and women who drive the big trucks with all the stuff in them, right? Like a lot of those trucks still use diesel. So that means that cost is already going to be on us. We already have the tariff costs on us, right? I don't think we've had a conversation about fast fashion, but the way in which the tariffs have disrupted kind of the fast fashion industry, we are seeing very similar things, to supply chain. I mean, fertilizer prices are going up. So it's not just the immediate impact of what we're seeing with our eyeballs at the gas stations. It's also those things that we don't pay that much attention to. And those fertilizer costs that are going to go up, that means that the steaks that are already super expensive, that's going to go up. That means that the cost of, different types of meats and everything else is also going to go up. So I'm seeing this kind of like a larger picture in terms of the different ways that Donald Trump's incompetence impacts Americans' kitchen tables. And it's not just our kitchen tables. He's impacting a lot of people's kitchen tables around the world. And to your point, even though, coming from California and gas is always high, to see gas right now in Maryland, when I came home, it was $4 something. At several different gas stations. And that is steep for this area. And it's only been a month. And that is the scary part of this because, Greg, in my work life, in my everyday life, these are conversations that I am having all the time. And I actually just talked to a colleague earlier today about what he thinks the end goal is. And he feels similarly to me. What end goal? So if that is the case, if they are going to go in there and make all the money and keep it for themselves, honey, and just exploit us and think we are just going to keep paying and keep paying and keep paying, I think they have another thing coming. I think this No King's March that's coming up this weekend will absolutely show Donald Trump just how much people are not feeling those prices at the gas tank.
No question. And like you said, I'm not aware, and you would obviously know more than all of us about this since you're in the middle of that community, but I'm not aware of anybody in the intelligence community, the foreign policy community, who thought this was a good idea. Bozo is clearly in his own mind, and whatever sweet nothings Mohammed bin Salman is whispering in his ear, back with $2 billion to his brother, to his son-in-law with the dead man suit, they are now in the middle of something they can't get out of. We just don't.
It's a foobar.
Yeah,
it's a foobar. It's
definitely a
beyond
foobar.
chaos. It's a foobar.
No question. And Iran hadn't even played their rest of their hand yet. If the Houthis decide to close the Red Sea, this is about to be something else. And thank you for bringing up all the agricultural and food security issues. Like you say, the fertilizer, it's planting season. So, Reese, if folks are now having to think about whether or not to invest in a home, in part because it is like we just heard from Dr. Haynes, like we just heard from Nola, it's not just the gas, it's the fertilizer, it's helium. That's going to impact MRI. People talk about that. Aluminum, petrochemicals. In terms of a real estate market, how do you see this thing unfolding, particularly since there doesn't seem to be an end in sight?
Well, here are a couple of things. I'm going to try to give like an economics, maybe not a one-on-one. This is more advanced economics, and I'm trying to make a plain. So what we have happening is this, right? We have the Treasury yield, the Treasury bond market, right? And the stock market, oil prices, all of those things are priced, in my view, very optimistically, because most of the investors at this time are expecting there to be a relatively quick conclusion to the end of this war. And that is why Donald Trump has been messaging and flip-flopping back and forth in terms of wanting to obliterate Iran and then saying, just kidding, because he wants to assure investors that it is safe to invest in the stock market. He wants oil prices to go down because gas prices are up. And when gas prices are up, that is bad politically for him and his party. So you have a very unstable global economy and global security issue that is still being treated optimistically by investors. But what's starting to happen is we're starting to see the yields on the 10-year Treasury bonds, which are considered risk-free bonds, those are going up. So what a yield means is that is the return on the investment. That's not the specific, what's called a coupon interest rate. That is what investors are demanding in terms of their return on their investment in order to purchase 10-year Treasury bonds. And that is part of how we keep our country going despite being $39 trillion in debt. And so since the Treasury bond is considered a risk-free bond, then what mortgage-backed security investors want to see is they want to see a little bit extra on top of that Treasury yield, because that's considered people are going to default on their mortgages and a whole number of things. And so that's why the mortgage rates tend to track 1.5 to 2 points higher than the Treasury bonds. So that's why, despite the fact that Jerome Powell did not do anything with interest rates last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks by now, we're still seeing these shifts in mortgage rates. That's why sometimes they go down even without Fed action, sometimes they go up. And so I say all that to say that it could be better because perhaps people are feeling a little jittery today, and so the yields are going up. People are demanding a lower price for these bonds. That makes the yield go up. Or it could get better because maybe all this works out, and so the yields will maybe not fall that much, but it will maybe go down a little bit. And so it really is a gamble. It's anybody's guess right now, but I probably wouldn't bet on yields going much lower. I would probably try to lock in a rate right now. If you're in the market right now, it's more of a buyer's market. And so you might end up in a situation where sellers will pull their houses off the market. They're just as scared about the economy as well. So there are so many factors that are coming into play. But for people who don't understand why yield makes a difference, that is why. And then the other thing I'll say, in addition to the war in Iran, just the fact of oil prices and all these other things, the other thing that's happening is we have a massive debt. We have a $39 trillion debt, and they just requested $200 billion from Congress just for a short-term window to fund this war. We're spending $1 million a minute on this war, and we ain't barely even left the ground yet. We don't even have ground troops invading yet. That's something that is being floated as a possibility to take over some of these Iranian islands. So this could all escalate and go to shit very, very, very soon. So we're seeing the beginnings of this war really being priced in to the different commodities markets and the stock market and the bond market. Where this goes is anybody's guess, but I would not be optimistic if I were you.
Man, and then you got a whole ass madman sitting in Pennsylvania, on Pennsylvania Avenue, talking smack to the Prime Minister of Japan when she holds $1 trillion of U.S. debt. The man is a madman, and we know Bibi's not going to stop. So, you know, they have a dream of greater Israel. But listen, we have a story that just kind of broke over the last 24 hours. We know yesterday, if you haven't seen yesterday's Roland Martin Unfiltered, you know, strongly encourage you to go back and look. Spent the better part of an hour discussing yesterday, which was the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade. And the president of Ghana, John Mahama, made a historic declaration and put on the floor of the UN General Assembly a wonderful declaration which was voted on, and 173 countries backed him to declare the human trafficking of African people, the so-called transatlantic slave trade, the greatest crime against humanity in history. And there were 3 countries, of course, that did not, that voted no, including the United States, of course, Israel, of course, and Argentina, where another bozo, a clown, a Trump of the tropics, Malay, is in power. And then all the European countries abstained, the ones who have the most blood on their hands. But today, President Mahama is in Pennsylvania. As we speak, I think he's probably still on the campus of Temple University in Philadelphia, but he was supposed to be at Lincoln University. So I want to ask you all about this news that broke this week after months of planning, right down to the execution of a visit to the alma mater of Kwame Nkrumah, the first Prime Minister of Ghana. John Mahama was uninvited to Lincoln University, historically black college there in Oxford, Pennsylvania, one of the 2 oldest in the country. And this is from Ghana Web. Ghana Web reported that Lincoln University has canceled an honorary doctorate ceremony from President John Dramani Mahama. The event scheduled to take place today, March 26th, was to recognize Mahama for his global leadership and service to reparative justice. However, the university, in a new update on its website, attributed the cancellation to what it referred to as unforeseen circumstances. However, the Embassy of Ghana issued a statement day before yesterday that linked the cancellation to the ceremony's cancellation to LGBTQ plus concerns. If you're following what's going on all over the continent of Africa, but now Ghana, there's a piece of legislation currently before Parliament called the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. It's been described as an anti-LGBTQIA bill, and while President Mahama has not taken a position on either side, and the Ghana embassy said he's going to let the democratic process work out, that wasn't enough, apparently, for some groups that said he shouldn't be on this campus, and President of Lincoln rescinded the order. Nola, should she have done that?
That's a challenging question.
I don't have an answer. That's why I'm saying I'm throwing it out now, and I know nobody's ready for it. But I mean, you know, what are the choices here?
Well, you know, in my experience, I remember being a very vocal student, you know, coming out of UCLA, you have an issue that means a great deal to you. You're going to lean into that and you're going to apply pressure onto the administration. And actually, I didn't know that Ghana was going through some of the same things that a lot of the other countries on the continent are going through. And, you know, like I said, I don't have an answer to this. I'm thinking about my years as a student who was very active. And I'm also thinking about now my role, you know, as an educator now. And I would have sided with my students, if I'm being honest with you. I would have sided with my students. But the last thing I'll say is this. When I lived in Ghana, gay men just come to me. They just flocked to me. And what was sad was the gay men who couldn't live out loud and proud. That broke my heart. But what I also understood is that I was there and my very progressive self, my different worldview, and I didn't want to disrupt what they had going on. But what I'm saying is, from a personal perspective, there are a lot of LGBTQIA folks in Ghana and on the continent, everywhere, period. And so the president saying, let the democratic process, you know, play its part, kind of sounds like he doesn't really want to deal with it. He doesn't really want to talk about it. And And maybe that is not the best look. Like if you're against it, that's what you're gonna stand on. And if you're for it and you don't want to say it, you may say something wishy-washy like that. So I don't know the whole story. I'm just saying, I remember my days as a very active and progressive student, and knowing my role as a professor. If my students came to me and they had an issue with someone coming to the campus, and the issue was one that had a lot of cultural and social and political consequence, I would give it a lot of thought. But like I said, I would most likely side with my students. So I don't know the whole story at Lincoln. It's a challenging situation, but
I agree.
I remember being a student, and what they were looking for was him saying, you know what, I stand by the LGBTQIA community, and he didn't do that.
Yeah, listen, I'm sure that Roland, who knows Dr. Allen, Brenda Allen, the president of Lincoln, will probably have her on either tomorrow or next week and try to, because I mean, it's just truly unfortunate all the way around. There's no winner in there. Kwame Nkrumah went to Lincoln. And so,
yeah.
and after yesterday especially, I mean, we're looking at maybe there's just not a good choice. Roland Martin Unfiltered. We'll be right back after this break.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Hey, yo, what's up? This is Mr. Dalvin right here. What's up? This is KC. Sitting here representing the JODECI, that's Jodeci. Right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
The wealth gap between white Americans and Black and Hispanic Americans continues to widen, according to recent data analyzed by WalletHub using federal statistics. I hope you can still trust those damn numbers. The U.S. Census Bureau survey of income and program participation revealed that in 2021, households headed by non-Hispanic white individuals had 10 times more wealth than those headed by Black individuals. WalletHub's analysis found median household wealth levels of $250,400 for non-Hispanic white households, $24,520 for Black households, $48,720 for Hispanic households. These wealth disparities have significant implications beyond finances. They are closely linked to health outcomes, life expectancy, and social stability. Additionally, there is concern that artificial intelligence could exacerbate this racial wealth gap. Monk and Yang, co-founder of First Street Partnerships, joins us from Montclair, New Jersey, to discuss training initiatives that could help bridge this gap. Brother Monk, welcome to Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Thank you. Really appreciate being here.
Hey man, it's a blessing to have you here. Help us work through this. I mean, AI is not going anywhere. The train has left the station, and the gap seems to be almost insurmountable. I mean, as African people, we've been through this. Obviously, they came and got us, and as they got us, the corporations that used our labor just made a gap that perhaps is permanent. How do we I don't know if reversal is the right question. How do we change it? Talk to us about how we renegotiate the terms of this thing.
Yeah, I think renegotiate's a good term to use for something like this. We are in the middle of another attack on kind of Black wealth creation in the country that's happening to everyone at the same time. More acute effects of it. I think the thing that's different in this case is the area or the piece of it, the technology that is AI, can actually be used to participate in some of this wealth transfer and everything that's going to happen economically going forward, because now it puts small business owners, it puts people who are moving through the corporate world in a position where they can really take advantage of what the power is that that AI possesses.
Oh wow! Well, I mean, you just opened up something to participate, huh? I mean, so this doesn't take a certain level of capital. It doesn't take a a certain economic stake to be able to participate? I mean, what kind, are we talking about training? Are we talking about access to, what kind of jobs? The job market, could you walk us through how that works? Because the way I understand AI, it seems like you're gonna have to be on the inside to even be able to participate. How's that gonna work?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that I talk about when I'm doing my trainings is I let people know that the conversation about AI that's happening online, that's happening through social media, is not the same thing that's happening in the boardrooms, in the corporate environments, with the small business owners. Folks are in new phases trying to understand this technology. People are trying to figure out where they fit into things, how they can use that for their careers. And when I do these trainings, and we've done it with HBCU students, we've done it with bankers, we've done it with professors, we've done it with folks in the nonprofit industry. And the same thing across all of it that I say and that we see is the folks who have been in the game for a while, the 20, 25 years of experience, you know where the skeletons are buried, you know how to solve the problems. You are the person that I would make most dangerous with AI, because understanding that when you put the human judgment, your human context, your human ability to take information and understand what the right path is, and you add that to the fact that AI can then execute that for you at a lightning speed, you can then do things that you would have never been able to do before. So businesses that you may have had in your mind that you couldn't have done because you don't know too much about legal, or it's a little bit too time intensive to do some of the communication side, you can do with AI and really stay in your zone of genius, that thing that you wake up every day, that thing that makes you really special, that thing that our community is filled with. But we have to then get over these additional barriers of entry. Oh, did you go to school? Did you get the pedigree? Do you know how to fill out the forms properly? AI lets you pass through that a lot of the times. And so you can become dangerous. And so my whole thing is about, let's get dangerous. Let's stop just talking about it.
You know, it's interesting that you raised that, brother, because I was reading an article a couple of days ago in the Daily Pennsylvanian, which is the student publication at the University of Pennsylvania, West Philly. And the students were demanding that Penn either slow their roll on integrating AI or rethink how they are embracing AI, because they said that it is eroding very quickly the learning process, and they are not having that time in college to basically go analog and read and think and dialogue, and that's really the value added. And so when you said zone of genius, I think that's a message, particularly for HBCUs or any student, quite frankly, university or not, that could be very helpful to think about this. It's those thinking skills, those non-technical skills that need to flourish. I mean, so when you're approaching these young people, when you're approaching anyone, and you talk about the zone of genius, does it seem like it's counterintuitive for some of them? Because it seems like everybody's saying, oh no, you gotta grasp this AI, you gotta grasp these concepts, but the thing is moving so quickly, right? Everybody was talking about coding a few years ago, and now it's like, yeah, no, those jobs are, so how important are those soft skills, those critical thinking skills, those contemplative skills, those kind of skills, and how do you approach that in conversations with people who are bombarded with maybe a message that make that seem like it's counterintuitive?
Yeah, no, I mean, that is the skill. The human skill is the skill. What I tell people is, what we talk about when it says learning AI, I think when people are talking about AI fluency, that is understanding how to open up ChatGPT and how do you do some deep research, and did you know that it can make emails for you, and do you know how to make video and all of those things, and that's important and that's helpful. But quickly, most people will be at a place where they kind of understand some of those basics. The real important thing is your judgment, your critical thinking skills. And so what I tell people is, if you had an incredibly talented intern who is now working for you, but they're new to the company, how would you work with that intern? How do you structure your thoughts so that you even understand what you're trying to ask it to do? How are you clear? How do you provide context? How do you do these things so that when the intern comes back with 50 really good sounding examples, you know that this is the right one to do, because I'm adding my own experience. I know that these first 10 would never work here. I know that my community would respond to these 5 right here. So that's where that experience really comes in. And so you brought up the point about the students, and that is a massive kind of existential problem, because that's where you're supposed to be building up that experience. And so it's very easy to take AI and use it as a shortcut because it sounds really good, and say, hey, I don't really need to read all these things or go through the pain of learning it because AI can do it for me. And that's not the case. It can sound like it did it well for you, but if you're not putting your own human spin and understanding on it, it'll be hollow. And that's how you see the generic things that people say, clearly AI made that.
Let's widen the conversation and bring the rest of the family in so we can pepper you with questions that you may or may not have the true answer to all the way through to the end. Mondale, Brother Robinson, please, any questions for David and Yang?
Yeah, let me do a little commercial real quick. Carr, I need you to stay on the screen if you don't mind. And also, Brother Monk, because I think this is an important point to point out right here. It is because of Black-owned space that we get to have this conversation. You will not see a conversation with 5 Black faces talking about this point on CNN, MSNBC, or anything. So people not tuning into this channel make it harder for us to be able to even have this conversation. So first of all, Brother Monk, I'm in awe of what you're doing. I do want to say, though, beyond the biases that we know about in technology, in AI, there are other biases that are keeping Black people out of this industry. And how do we talk about, to me, like how white comfort with Black suffering is playing a role? Because I think when we say AI boom could widen the racial divide, we're not telling the true story. It has already widened that divide. White people are already making a ton of money off of AI in a way that we aren't. And part of that is not just the biases in facial recognition. It has to do with how banks set up and how people will lend to white people when they wouldn't even lend to a Black borrower who may be better suited. So talk to how we get past that or around those barriers to address those problems too.
Yeah, I think a lot of great points that you made. One is the structural biases and problems that we have are always there, and a lot of them can be exacerbated by AI in the fact that not necessarily that the technology is doing anything, but because you're not able to raise money as easily and as quickly as your white counterpart, you can't jump on the idea that you have at the same scale that somebody else then has it. You know, I'm dealing with the same thing right now. You know, I know that my product is incredible. I know that the training is incredible, but the process of growing it is slower and piece by piece because I don't have access to the capital that my white counterpart would have at this stage of the game. And so that's very real. And there is an element where no in particular thing will save you. The same way, you know, it's kind of like how do we topple America and the way that it has been structured now that AI is around. There's no one thing, but I would say that it does allow for you to punch above your weight. And so if you are considering moving into the entrepreneurial space, or what I suggest a lot of times of just not simply relying on that W-2, because what we've seen over the last year is that that is not as stable as we think it is. And so if you're now looking for how do we figure out something to really protect myself and be able to move to different places or work from different areas, creating these collectives of people. I've seen Black collectives of creators who are trying to figure out how to make video with AI. I've seen Black collectives of professionals who are trying to figure out how they provide consulting while using AI and working together to share clients and all of that. I think that's a big part of the future from an economic standpoint, building these ways that you can participate, whether it's here or if you want to do it globally.
Thank you, brother. Dr. Haynes, questions for Brother Monk and Yang?
Oh, so many things are running through my mind. So I work in arms control and international security, specifically in space. And it's very, very tech forward. Actually, just today in my lecture, I introduced my students to a part of the government that thinks about technology 20, 30 years beyond, an agency called DARPA. And one of the reasons why I did that, it just made sense where we were in the lecture. But what I told my students was this: you are sitting in a premier university where everyone and their mama is talking about AI, they're talking about tech, they're talking about all of these things, and they have access to these incubators. And I was trying to tell them to take advantage of these incubators. And it's the same thing that I'm going to tell the Black students I'm with from Southeast tomorrow on campus. You know, you want to take advantage of all of these different things that are in your environment. And the one thing that I want to say before I get to my question, training AI, I think people have a misconception about AI. Yes, it's moving fast, but not as fast as people think. Because one of the things with AI is you got to train that bad boy. You just can't put a complicated question into AI and it's going to spit out this really sophisticated response. You have to train it, right? You have to get it to where you are and you have to get it to what you want to do with it. I don't think people think of it as a tool in that way. So I'm happy we're having this conversation. So my question is this: how do you calm some of the fears down with AI? And not to say that it isn't problematic, but now that we have more facts, now that we have more details, I am not one to think that AI is going to take my job as a professor tomorrow. That is not going to happen, because I can guarantee you AI is not going to teach space security unless I train it, right? So how do you talk about the reality of AI, where it is versus where people think it is, and to calm down some of those fears and to actually just be factual about the realities of AI?
Yeah. I think that's a big part of the conversations that we have, of kind of level setting people and helping them understand where we are in, the grand scheme of things. We've seen things like this before. I think it's obviously much more widespread than some things like, moving to digital banking or moving to the internet itself. But these were widespread, big panic. How is this going to destroy, retail business? Because now everyone can do online shopping, and if you have a retail store, you're not going to be able to sell anything. But to this day, online shopping is only about 20% of total sales. So it's still, there's an element where there are incentives on both sides. There's incentives to make you feel like AI is going to take over everything, full stop, and you should just comply in advance. There are financial incentives. There's incentives for ChatGPT to say things like that. There's incentives to do that. And then there's also incentives to scare everyone into believing that it's going to destroy everything. It's going to be the worst thing coming. The truth is, when new technology comes, it's most environmentally unsafe. It affects us more because these things are put in communities that look like us, and that is an unfortunate truth. And we have to kind of fight for that systematic, moving these data centers, providing regulation, and all of those things. But that's a collective effort. But for the individual, I talk to them about, you have an opportunity to kind of empower yourself with that same technology, because it's not the same as coding, right? There's a reality to when we're in the digital divide and everyone is learning coding, and hey, you need to get your kids into coding. There's a reality where there is a ceiling. Everyone is not going to learn coding. We can say it, we can say we're going to work on it, we're going to give more, but it's not for everyone, because there is that, there's that language, there's that technical time, effort, all of these things. A lot of that is gone with AI. And so while it is not perfect, while it is not going to solve everything, it is much more open in who can jump in and figure something out and make something of their ideas.
Okay, and finally, Reese Colbert, please, questions for our brother.
Yes. Can you talk a little bit about how much people are using AI without necessarily maybe knowing that they're using AI? For instance, if people are on Instagram, now when you do a search, it'll have an AI summary of what you might be looking for. If you're watching a video, in the middle of the video, it'll be a little magnifying glass and it'll have a suggested search. So all throughout the kinds of apps we're using, websites, when you do a search on Google now, there's usually an AI summary. Can you talk about how much AI is already integrated into the products that we use for people who might be intimidated or think that they are shying away from the AI arms race of sorts?
Yeah, so AI has already been here for years, right? And it has been a part of the way that, Amazon is showing you the different, items that they think you would like. And it is right because it is using this technology. It's using algorithms. It's showing up in social media, both when you search and when it's giving you your, For You page. So it's been showing up in places for years. The difference that's happening now is it's essentially these platforms that allow you to direct it. in certain ways and say, hey, I would like you to do this very specific task. And so that part is what is relatively new. That part is where people are having a ton of conversation and saying, well, what can it mean for jobs and what can it mean for your own job and all of those different things. And the reality is that, you know, a lot of people who study this and talk about, you know, where we are and how long it actually takes to adopt these things to a place where it really is affecting every industry, it's still several years. We're still in the, you know, if it's a 9-inning game, we're still early second inning where, you know, people are talking about it more. It hits this fever pitch, which is higher and louder now because of social media. But if you're going to XYZ company, they're right now still trying to figure out what are we going to do with AI? Which platform should we use? Do we do training at all? Do we not do training? Some are trying out pilots of different things that they want to do. So it's still early. But you know, again, what you hear is different than what is on kind of on Main Street.
Brother Monk and Yang, I'm looking at the website. Is this right? The number 1 firststreet.co. Is that you?
Yes, the number 1 firststreet.co.
All right, very good. AI for teams building real things. Monk and Yang, thank you, brother. We've had a crash economics lesson from Reese, and now we've got a crash AI lesson from you. Listen, I agree with you, Mayor Robinson. Where the hell else you gonna get something like this? We appreciate you spending some time with us, brother. Come back soon. We're gonna need you more, probably quicker, sooner rather than later. So thank you, brother.
Thank you. I'm always here. It was a great time.
Oh, wonderful. When we come back in a minute, we're going to address something that looks like it's breaking. And since we've gone on the air, it looks like Bozo said he's going to pay the TSA workers. Now, how in the hell is he going to do that? Roland Martin Unfiltered will be right back here on the Black Star Network.
A decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads. Let's go! We show up not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together, we organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
I'm Russell L. Honoré, Lieutenant General, United States Army, retired, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, we're back here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, and I'm sure all of us are scurrying to our devices to try to figure this out. First I saw it came across the feed in social media. And so let's just go through a couple very quickly. CBS News is reporting that President Trump said this evening, since we've been on the air, he will sign an executive order to restart pay for Transportation Security Administration officers who have gone more than a month without a full paycheck, leading to thousands of absences and long lines at major U.S. airports. Mr. Trump did not say what legal authority he intends to use. TSA agents have gone without pay. This is the quote. And this is really distasteful. I'm going to do it because apparently everybody is doing it, and it's sad that we are. We should stop reporting or repeating what he puts on social media and wait for a better process, regular process. But this is what he has put out on his bogus-ass Truth Social platform. Quote, because the Democrats, I'm going to read it just as he wrote it. Quote, because the Democrats have recklessly created a true national crisis, I'm using my authority under the law to protect our great country, as I always will do. Whatever. Looks like The Guardian out of London is reporting. It's similar. It has even more from the Post. It says, quote, I'm going to sign an order instructing the Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne Mullen, to immediately pay our TSA agents in order to address this emergency situation and to quickly stop the Democrat chaos at the airports. Finally, figured we should go to the home team, regime state media, Fox. Fox has a headline, Trump declares national emergency at airports. Will sign order instructing DHS to immediately pay TSA agents. Reese, while everybody needs this check, and we certainly, if this goes through, it'll be a good thing. I saw one report said John Thune, they've made another counter proposal to the Democrats, and Thune is claiming that this is the final one. We'll see as Easter looms. But are you concerned at all about this continued power grab? Because this has Russell Vought's nasty little fingerprints all over it. Declare a national emergency, or sign an executive order, spend money, or is this already in the DHS budget? And in other words, I guess what I'm asking you is, do you think this is in his power to do?
It's not clear. Probably not. Because, you know, in order to, there's things called transfers, which is when you're moving from one account to another. There's reprogramming, which is when you're moving money from one account, for moving money within the account, but to purposes that it wasn't originally intended for. And so I'm not familiar enough with the line items in the DHS or TSA budget to know how the TSA is funded specifically, or payroll is funded in these accounts. So if it is something like reprogramming, meaning there's money within the accounts, but it was being spent on other things, potentially this is legal. But I do think that there is a concern with the president disregarding the fact that these kinds of moves are supposed to go through Congress. We've already seen them disregard it with what is called rescission. They did that all up and through the budget last year, where through rescission, they got rid of USAID funding and a number of other agencies where they drastically reduced the budget that was congressionally appropriated, and they just did away with it. So this is a different angle of that kind of power grab. And it's concerning. What they could do is just fund the TSA. The Democrats have put forth a bill to just simply fund the TSA. Yeah. Republicans have voted it down 10 times. And so if you really want to pay them, pass the damn bill. That is simply for funding TSA. And so because they don't want to do that, and Donald Trump is trying to find a way around it, now granted, who's going to sue him overpaying TSA agents? That's probably not likely to happen. And this does perhaps put more pressure if they already know it's illegal, and maybe lawsuits will happen, or maybe it will be challenged in some kind of way and it's thrown out, and Trump will say, see, I tried to do something and I was blocked, that they figure to put more pressure on the Democrats. But this is not, I don't know. If it works, you know, I guess this is another thing that these shutdowns have provided Donald Trump an opportunity to grab even more power than he had prior to the shutdown. So I made a video and I said to Democrats, get your shit together. Yes, Republicans control all three branches of the government. Yes, the Republicans are blocking a clean TSA bill. But if the way out of this mess is through your negotiation, then y'all need to be better negotiators, because the latest offer has less of what they all agreed to than it did last week from the White House. Absolutely. So it's going backwards right now. People keep saying, well, Trump said that there's going to be a deal. That was Sunday. We on Thursday now. Y'all keep up with the news. Absolutely. The news now is there's a deal on the table that the Democrats don't like, even some Republicans don't like. And so if this has to come through negotiations, y'all need to get, I don't know, get somebody in there that know what the fuck they doing. Because clearly Chuck Schumer doesn't know. And y'all got Patty Murray, and y'all got Angus King, I believe, or Chris Murphy. Y'all not doing the job right now. So get somebody in there who know how to fucking negotiate. Because giving Donald Trump more power to break the law and decide you get money, you don't get money, I don't think is a good solution.
That's right. And that's exactly right. I agree with you. I mean, this is murky at best. Mayor Robinson, we know that the end game for Bozo is trying to get this Save America Act passed. It's probably dead. He said he ain't signing nothing else. Thune, said, I'm not going to be able to deliver it, but he says, I'm still not signing anything else. And just like Reese said, this thing was on the table. Minnesota Public Radio is reporting that John Thune has made what he says is the last and final offer today, saying enough is enough, didn't disclose any deals, but they're also reporting that, quote, senators retreated to privately discuss the latest offer as a core group of more than 10 senators, Democrats and Republicans, worked to hammer out the details. More voting was possible. And then finally quotes Mark Warner, Democrat of Virginia, by saying, quote, I think we all realize we're not going anywhere until this is done. I mean, you're a policymaker. You've had to wrestle and grapple with the legislative process and policy making. Do you think that Thune is talking with Trump and the rest of these guys, and this is kind of an attempt to, as Reese said, grab some more power, but on the other end, perhaps bring this thing to a close with, again, the SAVE Act looming as the kind of sword that Trump is holding over all their heads, saying, I ain't signing nothing till you suppress these voters?
Well, listen, we got to be honest. If I'm Thune, I'm just waiting the Democrats out, because they're going to do what they always do, which is buckle. We've seen it is not by mistake that since Ronald Reagan, the Democrats have become more conservative. That is not negotiating. That's just a giving in, inkling by inkling. So I think what Thune is doing that Democrats can't take this type of pressure, and they're eventually going to allow, one, Donald Trump to do what's unconstitutional and pay these workers, and then two, get less or give them less as it pertains to how much money he's willing to give back for ICE. And I think that's the problem. Democrats need to continue to fight against this administration. And there should be tons of lawsuits if he is going to allow this executive order to pay people, because the Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, speaks directly against the president doing that. Unless there's him declaring an emergency, does not give him power to pay people unless there are emergency funds already set aside, which he does not have at this moment. But like Reese said, the Democrats will cave. They will, with their non-negotiated ass, give Donald Trump exactly what he wants, which will lead to another what looks like a victory for Donald Trump and more power, making him the most powerful president we've ever seen, and damn near close to king.
I mean, wow. I tell you, Dr. Haynes, Nola, I mean, clearly the White Nationalist Party has no problem playing with people's lives. These people are losing houses, mortgages, gotten to find other jobs, they're having problems. So they're using them as human shields to push through their agenda. And I know that you're keeping track of so many things, including the fact they just came back from this CPAC meeting in Hungary, these global white nationalists trying to do. Can you imagine a world where he pays them and then people sue and say you can't pay them, and holding these people hostage? Does that expand Trump's image as, I'm trying to save y'all? I mean, could this be a way for him to kind of shore up his base? I mean, make sense of this for us if you can, not only in a domestic sense, but in this kind of global sense of this strong man figure who wants to position himself to be some kind of savior like Orban in Hungary or Putin or anybody else.
I think this is a generous conversation for Trump. Loophole Larry, they gonna find a loophole. Yes, that is true. That is true. But what is going to happen, it is going to be a mess. It is going to be a procedural mess, just like everything else. I mean, what happened to the people they promised all that money to the people who to come and work to be ICE agents in the first place? What happened to that? Yeah. Exactly. Like, there is nothing that this administration does well when it comes to any sort of procedure. I have a hard time seeing how they're going to work out all the details and actually make it happen effectively and efficiently. Look at the Iran war, y'all. It is a mess. Iran told them people, don't come over here. Told those people. And what did they do? Did not listen. They went over there, and now we looking real crazy, looking crazier, than we were looking before. So I get the conversation. I get how Trump and his ilk, the one thing that they do is find a loophole, but that's really about it. They have a hard time crossing the finish line with procedural things, with procedural processes, in terms of paying people, a lot of people, back pay, all these things. Y'all really see that happening efficiently? I don't.
No.
I think it's going to be a mess.
No.
And in terms of the political part, the way that, the Democrats may or may not respond, I mean, I personally think they are in a situation where it still hasn't clicked in a lot of their brains that, y'all, this is a rusty knife fight. It's not just a knife fight. It's rusty and it's dirty, okay?
That's right.
And there, and like even, I was recently with Cory Booker, and I enjoy him as a human being. And then I saw one of his interviews where he was trying to convey that there really is still cordiality and all these things behind the scenes. And I'm like, okay.
I said, come on, man. Come on, Cory. He's a great brother, but come on, man.
Why?
Even if that's true, first of all, ain't nobody trying to hear that.
Ain't nobody trying.
We are in a rusty knife fight.
Yeah, no question. Well, he got off the AIPAC breast, so maybe the next thing is he'll wake up to the reality that, these people are not your friends. So
I think he says he's angry. He's angrier than he's ever been, and I see it. However, anger is one stage of this. To Reese's point, how are you going to apply this? What does that look like? What does that anger look like applied? I mean, yes, I know that there was the War Powers resolutions, and they have a whole strategy for that. And okay, that's fine. But regarding this situation, right? Regarding making Trump look strong, to your point, Greg, right? Even if that's not the reality. That's not the optics.
That's right.
Right? That's not the optics. And so right now, the Dems are losing the optics, which means you losing the people.
Right. And that's exactly.
Can I say something?
Oh, please. Yes, please.
I think part of the reason, sis, you said some powerful stuff. Correction, powerful shit. I think part of the reason the Democrats are losing the optics is because they only know one thing, and that thing is they are still playing politics like it's the 80s or 70s. Yes. We are no longer in an era where baby boomers are the majority of voters. They will never be anymore. It is millennials and the generations behind them. And I think the problem is they've not reconciled that. So this idea that you need to portray that you're being cordial with people who are comfortable killing people, and that is not hyperbole. There have been more dead people because of this administration with the killing of the USAID than any administration since, I don't know, the end of slavery and when the war was fought between the states. I think we need to be honest and talk and act in a way like Donald Trump does for white supremacy. We need to do that on behalf of people. And I think the party is scared to do that because it's a bunch of old ass guys, mainly white men, but Cory act that way as well. And he's not that old, so he should know that brothers and people ain't getting with the silly shit that's going on in the Senate right now. It is an old institution that needs to die with its habits. And I mean that. Yeah. And I'm not being coy, but the reason so many people tapped out, that 90 million that Brother Carr talked about that did not participate, it's because they don't see fight for what's necessary to bring them from a point of surviving to a point of living.
That's a good point, Brother Robinson. We're going to move on to another quick story before the break. In Wednesday's financial, Reese, give me a second. Let me get through this story right here. We'll come back on the other side. In Wednesday's Financial Services Committee hearing on tokens and digital assets, Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley explained the need for strong digital finance regulations that protect consumers, not harm them, or allow the wealthy and well-connected like Trump to enrich themselves at the expense of everyday working people. Let's take a listen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As we're talking today about tokens and digital assets, I just want to, for those watching at home, just really center the American public and my constituents of the Massachusetts 7th. It seems everything and everyone is being attacked except for affordability. And people are really struggling. They are struggling to pay for their rent, groceries, gas, and medical bills. They are exhausted by the constant chaos coming out of this White House. And Donald Trump and his co-conspirators are making millions at the expense of everyday working people. Trump and Republicans in Congress are continuing to try and weaken the SEC and make it harder for them to protect investors and consumers. Mr. Banai, you worked at the SEC and CFTC, and now you work in digital finance. Previously, you mentioned that you think regulators could have played more of a role in shaping these emerging technologies years ago. Can you just expound and elaborate on how the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, could have exercised oversight of these technologies and protect consumers?
The same decisions that the current SEC is thinking about, could have also been, those authorities could have been exercised under the last administration. A different strategy was undertaken, and we could talk about it sometime. But I think the hardest thing for the SEC to do right now is, for example, looking at the whole myriad rules under Reg NMS, including the order protection rule, which was mentioned earlier, and conducting industry outreach and roundtables in order to try to understand how we can bridge the gap between, for example, the public price feed, the Securities Information Processor, the SIP, and on-chain based trading. For example, integrating data both on-chain and off-chain through connectivity between the SIP and US regulated liquidity pools. These are all issues that can be surmounted, but it requires extensive fact-finding. And I would encourage this SEC to engage in that fact-finding alongside the other efforts it's doing. Otherwise, it's going to lead to the same lack of progress.
Thank you, Mr. Benign. Mr. Zecca, I'm interested in NASDAQ's approach to tokenization as a way that empowers shareholders to hold companies accountable. Are you working with consumer groups and advocacy organizations or other stakeholders on that goal? And how can interested parties like myself be involved?
Well, thank you for the question. We're not directly in touch because we're sort of with the exchange. We're not with the end customer. I do know that there are intermediaries who do speak to various groups, and we're happy to demo our technology for anyone.
Okay, all right.
We'd be happy to reach out to you.
I'm going to take you up on that, Mr. Zecca, on the record. Would you commit to working with my office as we move forward in that process? And I just really do believe as we innovate that we have to have advocates and impacted consumers. They should be at the table. Okay. Will you commit to that?
Yes, we'll be happy to
Okay, excellent.
Happy to work with you.
All right, Mr. Benson, as a former member of Congress, I know you understand the importance of the public trust. Do you agree that there should be laws around digital assets so members of Congress or the president, for example, cannot unjustly enrich themselves or abuse their position? My time is short. Yes or no?
Yes, we're on record as saying Congress should write rules around digital assets that are not securities.
Okay, all right. For the record, I'm certainly not against innovation. I have introduced legislation to advance financial technology in a way to protect consumers, not harm them, evade the law, or enrich the pockets of the already wealthy and well-connected. As we innovate, we should not exploit and leave communities behind, and we should not let Trump continue to make money and put our economy at risk by changing or not enforcing the laws created to protect consumers.
Thank you, Congresswoman Presley, Ayanna Presley. If you've seen the documentary She Dared to Dream, which talks about Congresswoman Presley and her work, if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. I'm sure Steve Witkoff is shaking in his boots listening to Ayanna Presley, because that's all they're doing now is trying to run this scam. She wants some regulations on it. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, and we will be right back.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Now that Roland Martin is willing to give me the blueprint, hey, Cyrus, I need to go to Tyler Perry and get another blueprint because I need some green money. The only way I can do what I'm doing, I need to make some money. So you'll see me working with Roland. Matter of fact, it's the Roland Martin and Cheryl Underwood show. Well, should it be the Cheryl Underwood show and the Roland Martin show? Well, whatever show it's going to be good.
The 18th Annual International Black Writers Conference, hosted by the Center for Black Literature at Medgar Evers College, is currently taking place. This year's theme is expanding conversations on environmental justice, popular culture, resilience, and peace. The event is honoring 3 influential Black writers, Camille Dungy, Kasahun Chikole, and Imani Perry. Dr. Brenda Green is the founder and executive director of the Center for Black Literature. She joins us now. Welcome, Dr. Green.
Greetings. Thank you for having me.
So
we're right in the middle of our conference.
Yes, I know. You're in the middle of it. And we wanted to take you away from it, but we're glad to be able to have you now. We're right in the middle of it. Could you talk to us a little bit about the vision for the conference that you started and what the center means? And I'm thinking about it in the context of this long journey, Howard's Black Writers Conferences in the 70s, your friend and colleague Hakeem Aboudi at Chicago State University for many years, and you have grasped firmly that baton, overlapping with those two, and you really have the premier Black Writers Conference in the country. So could you talk to us a little bit about your vision and how this came into existence?
Thank you. I had an opportunity to meet John Oliver Killens when he was writer in residence at Medgar Evers College, and that was in the 1980s. And he had a vision, as you know, to host a National Black Writers Conference every year. He did it at Howard University, and he did it at other, I think he may have done it at Fisk.
Oh, yeah, Fisk.
So when he was at Medgar Evers College, excuse me?
No, I just said at Fisk. Yes, ma'am, that's right.
Yes. So when he was at Medgar Evers College, he wanted to host it. So in 1986, he got together with Elizabeth Nunes, who was then chair of the Humanities Department, and they hosted the first National Black Writers Conference, which was the social responsibility of the writer. We could very well use that theme today. So his vision was to bring writers together to talk about the trends in Black literature. Unfortunately, John made his transition in 1987, and I became involved in helping to coordinate the conference. I was the conference coordinator in 1988, 91, 96, 2000, and Elizabeth Nunes decided she was going to focus on writing her books. I took over directing the conference. I also, at that time, was managing the Incurable Books. I was on sabbatical managing Incurable Books, wrote the proposal to found the Center for Black Literature, modeled after the Gwendolyn Brooks Center for Black Literature and Creative Writing, which was founded by Hakeem Aboudi at Chicago State University. And the center was approved, and we started in 2002. And I really wanted to continue that vision and make sure that we held a conference every year. The Center for Black Literature gave us an opportunity to host the conference every year. And I was ambitious and tried to host it every year, and then decided we could not do a major conference every year. So we decided to do a major conference in the even years. And we did a symposium focused on a writer or focused on an issue in the odd years. So in the even years, we've done major conferences. You can go to our Center for Black Literature website, which lists all of the conferences we've done since I've been directing it. And we hosted the symposium on various writers. Last year, we focused on middle school and young adult writers, but we've done the symposium on John Williams, Paul Marshall, Audre Lorde, Toni Cade Bambara, and Tasaki Shange. We've done various symposia. And the vision behind this conference really came when I attended the Caribbean Association of Writers and Scholars, which was held in St. Lucia in 2004. And a major theme of that conference was that we need to think globally. We can't just think, in our own communities and in our own countries. We need to think globally about what's happening to us with respect to the environment, what's happening to our land, what's happening, how is climate change affecting our communities, affecting our people. And I came up with the idea of doing a conference on environmental justice, and which I think is really in a way of saying that environmental justice was developed because we are fighting environmental racism. And that ends up coming to us when you look at housing shortage, when you look at the water pollution, water shortage, when you look at people fighting for reproductive rights, when you look at the erosion of democratic rights, all of that has to do with environmental racism, which we advocate under environmental justice. But we also have to look at how we've survived. So that's where the theme of resilience came. We have been through a lot, but we always survive. We've survived from the time Black people were enslaved. When they came, we had the 1619 projects. When they were brought to this country, they survived the Middle Passage, but they survived. And we also have to look at popular culture and media and technology, because at this time, that is really dominating everything. We have to look at media and how it's used. We have to look at technology and how it's used. We have to be critical thinkers. We have to interrogate the information we get. We have to look at various sources. So that became another component of the theme. And then we have to look at peace. We may never have peace, but what are the paths towards healing and peace? Because we can't be totally pessimistic. We have to have some paths for sorting that. And our writers have always been our forward thinkers. Our writers carry the truth. They're our truth tellers. Our writers are the ones who lead the movement. Our writers are visionaries. And so the National Black Writers ties in with John Oliver Killens' vision to host a conference and to look at the trends and to remind people that we have a social responsibility and we should be long distance runners. So we make it, it's called a conference, but it's really a gathering because it's intergenerational. One of the things I added when we began to do the conference, we have a program for youth. I went to a phenomenal workshop organized by the youth at Medgar Evers College at looking at the impact of popular culture, media technology, and resistance in the literature of Black writers. I was so proud of the students. They've read papers. It was a really great discussion. We have our elders who are telling stories of how they survived. That was held today, an Elders Writers Workshop. And we have a poetry cafe going on tomorrow.
Yes,
currently.
It's going on right now, huh? You had to step away, huh?
It's going on right now.
So we don't want you to miss it. But look, we're grateful just very quickly because I know you're starting out fresh in the morning and you have a packed day. Saw some very familiar names. Victor Lavelle is on there. You got a bunch of other people on the roundtable discussions. And then Saturday, those who have read Sky Full of Elephants, you know the name Sibo Campbell is going to be there, our good sister Ayo Sakai. And then on Saturday evening, looks like this plenary discussion with your honorees, moderated by our sister, Marie Daniel Favors.
Yes.
Is there a cost associated with the conference?
No,
Dr.
well,
Green?
the conference is free for seniors, our seniors, and it's free for CUNY students, but it's very, very moderate cost. And we also have a special, if you come in person on the day and register for the conference, it's actually $15 just to register for one day.
You trying to mess?
You can't beat that.
You trying to mess around and help people be literate?
It's a community gathering.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You are absolutely right about that. Listen, we can't thank you enough. CenterForBlackLiterature.org, Dr. Brenda Green. Those of you back in the day may remember buying books from Dr. Green and her son Talib Kweli and his buddy Mos Def. If you were in Nkiru Books, you know what I'm talking about. Dr. Green, you are a national, international treasure. And we're grateful that you got a chance to spend a little time with us. Hope you go back and enjoy some of those poets. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Green.
All right. All right, bye.
All right, bye-bye. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, and we will be right back.
A decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads. Let's go! We show up not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together, we organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
How you doing? My name is Mark Curry, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Deep into it, like pasteurized milk without the 2%. We getting deep. You want to turn that shit off? We doing an interview, motherfucker.
And then Mark Curry gets me every single time. The Trump administration, once again, has it out for New York Attorney General Letitia James. On Wednesday, Trump appointed Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte made 2 criminal referrals against the Attorney General just months after the Justice Department failed for a 3rd time to prosecute her. Where's that lady from Virginia? Lindsay, whatever. She's going to lose her law license ultimately. In the referrals, Pulte alleged that James may have committed insurance fraud by falsifying occupancy information on separate homeowners' insurance applications for 2 properties in Norfolk, Virginia. Clearly bogus. The referrals were sent to U.S. attorneys in Florida and Illinois, where the insurance companies for the 2 applications are based. In one referral, Pulte says James claimed the house would be occupied by a single adult with no children, but it was actually home to 4 people, 3 children and her niece. In the other, he says James made a false claim that her property would be unoccupied for 5 months out of the year, but the house was actually occupied year-round by her niece. Yeah, that guy is from Central Casting. Abby Lowell, that is the attorney for Tish James, released this statement. Trump and his political enablers keep abusing their power to pursue a vendetta against her by trying to rename, refile, and repeat baseless allegations. They continue this improper revenge campaign instead of helping bring down the rising cost of living in this country. These desperate tactics will fail, just as every previous attempt has failed, and exposes an administration that has abandoned its responsibility to the American people in favor of petty political payback. Reese, when are they going to leave Tish James alone?
Maybe when they win something else. Win the war. Get the airports open. Do something. Can you do something useful, and that way you ain't trying to deflect from all your failures? That would be something that they could do.
I know that's right. Nola, what's your take on this? What, if you're Tish James, what are you doing there?
I mean, Black women, we are his nemesis. I mean, point blank, period.
Facts.
And the only other thing that I would say is, Greg, you know this better than I do. Isn't there something in the legal system where you can't just keep bringing felonious cases back to back to back, wasting everybody's time and money?
Absolutely. Yeah, frivolous lawsuit. Yes, frivolous lawsuit. And I think some of these people will get their licenses snatched when this is all said and done. It's no question about it. It's no question about it. Mondale? Oh, can't hear you, brother.
This is the biggest breach of all, but I'm going to tell you why. Because Bill Pulte he should be dealing with the housing crisis, which is part of the most unaffordable part of living in America right now, the #1 issue for this midterm election. So instead of doing carrying Donald Trump waters, he should be over there trying to figure that out. The problem with this is not a new case. This is the same case. They just replaced mortgage with insurance. It is absolutely disgusting that we're seeing this. And I think what we're going to find out is that they know they're going to lose, but they're going to cost this sister money, and she'll never get it back. And I think that's the case. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, well, you know what, brother? That's one thing he is good at, and that's draining people's resources. I think you hit that nail right on the head. But, you know, if anybody's built for it, it's another Howard University School of Law graduate, and that's Tish James. She is no joke. We've reached the moment in our evening where we are preparing to receive headlines. It's time for headlines with Brittany Noble.
A Detroit man who served 17 years in prison was released after the Cooley Law School Innocence Project worked to have his murder conviction dismissed. A jury convicted Dellie Crawford of second-degree murder in the 2007 death of Tatanisha Joy Williams. During Tuesday's hearing, Wayne County Circuit Judge Tracy Green dismissed the charge without prejudice. The Cooley Law School Innocence Project said that Crawford had gone inside Williams' home in 2007 after he was unable to contact her. Then Crawford got help from a friend to get inside as a key had broken off in the lock. The two men then discovered her body in the home. Now, the court relied on testimony from an unreliable witness whose story changed multiple times for Crawford's conviction. A Black New Jersey mother wants answers after several police officers attacked her 13-year-old son. The incident was captured on surveillance video and shows Al-Khair inside an East Orange store as he purchased a shirt. Before he could walk out, an officer grabbed the teen, put him on top of some boxes, and according to the police, they were conducting a firearm investigation, but his mother claims he was wrongfully targeted and physically harmed. There are also concerns regarding the use of force and whether the stop was excessive. Now, the teen has stated that this experience has traumatized him. His mother, Amira May, is extremely upset, particularly because the police informed her that they were searching for a man in his 20s, leading her to question just how this mix-up occurred. The Newark Police Division's Officer of Professional Standards initiated an internal investigation, and his mom expressed her desire for the officers involved to be held accountable. Well, in Chicago, police have launched a hate crime investigation after a disturbing act of vandalism targeting a Black woman-led theater. Definition Theater says someone wrote "Murder Black Women" on its front window during the final weekend of its production. The incident happened as the theater was staging Black Cypress Bayou, a murder mystery written and directed by Black women centered on the Black family in East Texas. In a statement, the theater reaffirmed its commitment to uplifting Black women's voices, calling the production a story rooted in strength, artistry, and storytelling. Police are asking anyone with information to step forward as this investigation continues. A Racine County, Wisconsin man has been found guilty of election fraud. After 3 hours of deliberation, a jury found Harry Waite, who is white man, guilty of 2 counts of election fraud and identity theft. Waite admitted in 22 that he went to My Vote website to request absentee ballots for Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Vogt and Democratic Racine Mayor Corey Mason without their consent. State prosecutors pushed back on his motive for trying to expose their belief that these are flaws in the absentee ballot application process, and the state suggested that he requested the ballots to get attention or notoriety. And MAGA MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell has been held in civil contempt by a judge for failing to pay sanctions related to his claims about the 2020 election. U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols signed an order requiring Lindell to pay over $56,000 in sanctions, which he has not complied with since early 2025. In February, Smartmatic, an electronic voting systems company, requested that the judge impose sanctions on Lindell after he refused to pay. Now, he has asserted that he cannot pay, but the judge does not believe this claim, stating that his refusal to pay is a calculated tactic rather than a result of financial hardship. And so the judge warned of further contempt sanctions if the amount is not paid. On Tuesday, the judge acted on this warning and held him in contempt. Now, Lindell is the CEO of MyPillow, a company he established in 2004. In 2020, the company was highly successful, but it experienced a significant decline in 2023 and 2024 after several major retail partners severed ties. And now he claims he does not have the $5,000 or even 5 cents. A longtime fixture in downtown Greensboro, North Carolina, and a pillar of Black entrepreneurship is now closing its doors. Dudley Cosmetology University ended operations after 54 years. Eunice Dudley says that the decision to close was driven by industry change and timing. Dudley and her late husband, Joe Lewis Dudley Sr., laid the foundation and grew Dudley products. For more than 5 decades on South Elm Street, Dudley Cosmetology University helped shape generations of stylists and entrepreneurs. That focus on entrepreneurship helped build careers, especially for Black cosmetologists looking to own their own work and future.
Lord have mercy. Hate to see them go. Dudley Cosmetology. South Elm Street's not going to be the same. Thank you, Sister Brittany. And y'all, everybody, be sure to watch The Breakdown with Brittany Noble. That's on the Black Star Network Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Roland Martin Unfiltered will be right back on the Black Star Network.
A decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads. Let's go! We show up, not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together, we organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
My name is Bill Duke, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
It's time to shop the marketplace, and tonight we have Created Collections. Created Collections is a line of body care products designed to nourish, restore, and enhance your daily routine. Each collection combines the healing properties of earth-grown ingredients with a slow beauty philosophy, providing a full body experience that transcends traditional skincare. Pearline G, founder, Created Collections, joins us from Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome, Sister G, to Black Star Network and Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Thank you so much. How are you this evening?
I am doing just well. One fellow southerner to the next. I love your first name, Pearline. Did they call you Pearl for short?
You know, no, they just drag it on and call it Pearline.
Well, come on now.
Put that little twang on the end of it, right?
Please tell me there's a grandma or auntie, somebody named Pearl, or you are the original.
My grandmother, whose name was Pearl, and I don't know where the lean came from. Maybe I was leaning when I came out. I don't know. So you threw that on the end of it.
Yes, ma'am. Well, listen, we about to lean into Created Collections. Talk to us about this earth-grown collection of ingredients, and those you all can see here. We see right here in front of me, we have the whole collection. So walk us through some of this stuff while I put my hands on it, if that's all right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
So Created Collections was formed basically when I still work in corporate America, but I was working in corporate America when I had a health scare, and my doctor said I needed to start doing something different to decompress. So my sister was making soap at the time, and she said, you know, why don't you go back to making soap? So I did do that. And so it evolved into the business that it is today. And all of our products are made with natural ingredients, the rosemary, lavender, everything that is natural, all essential oils, no synthetics. And it was actually started out of a need to just decompress, and then it turned into the business that it is today. So I'm truly grateful for that. And all of our shea butters are natural. And we have perfume, we have body mist, soap, everything. So we're continuously growing and evolving, and also looking at other opportunities to improve our product by understanding what type of herbs and ingredients work well together that benefit the skin. So that's where we are today.
You know, I was going to ask you about this sacred ember, but then I see this soil and smoke soap bar. You got to tell us about this bar right here.
So that is made with charcoal, and what it does, it pulls out impurities in the body. So when you're using the soap, it's going to pull out the impurities in your skin. A lot of the times our skins will maintain a lot of free radicals, and so we pull together ingredients that will pull that out of your skin. And that's what that soil and smoke is. And it's got patchouli in it. It has amber. And it is a wonderful natural essential oil. And it smells good on the skin as well. So our customers really do enjoy that.
Well, let's go right to our panel, Ms. Perline. We're going to start with Mondale Robinson, because I'm assuming that men and women, everybody can use this. Let me get out your way, Brother Mayor. Come on, any questions for Sister Perline G?
Listen, I want to say I'm your homeboy, basically. I'm 2 counties northeast of you in Enfield in Halifax County, so super excited to see you on the show. I'm actually about to fly back to Raleigh, but I wanted you to talk to the people and let them know how you got back to what has or was a Black tradition. Making soap and cleaning products has history way back before we even came over here to Central Africa. I think people forgot that we used, saponins, which are natural soap-like products, and that appear in flowers to clean, to wash our hairs. And also, what brought you back to that place? I'm super excited too.
So what brought me back to that was trying to find something that I could do to decompress after working. So I'm still in corporate America, of course, but when I had that health scare, I wanted to really take a look at what I'm doing for my body, and then also what I'm doing for my skin. And we grew up watching our grandmother make soap in the backyard, making lye soap. So my sister was already doing that, and it took me back old school to start working with products that are good for the skin, that are natural. Nothing synthetic. Sometimes when we get a little bit of money, we want to get away from the things that really made us healthy, because now we can go out and buy the quote unquote synthetic perfumes, the synthetic soaps, things that kind of tear down our skin. And so that kind of made me think about wanting to make sure that whatever I create is going to be good and beneficial to the skin. Every skin type is different. So we can't just create one thing and think it's going to work for everybody. And that really took me back, old school. We have gotten away from things that we could do with our hands. We're very creative people. There is nothing we cannot do. And so that made me want to say, okay, I want to educate myself more on what works for the skin of all types, but our skin in particular is one of the things that I really wanted to focus on, because we age very well, but at the same time I want it to be beneficial to what I produce.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Brother Robinson, I'm looking on the website. I see an all night for men body collection, but I ain't gonna ask you about that right now. I'm gonna go to Reese. Hey, Reese Colbert, please jump on in this conversation with our sister.
Yes, your website looks beautiful, but I noticed that you also have bags and blankets. So talk about the non-body products that you make on your website.
Yeah, so when COVID hit, I had to pivot, right? And during that time, I started educating myself on different types of essential oils that work for the skin. But also, my granddaughter actually got me started to making blankets. So I started doing handmade blankets, and that was a part of the product that I began to sell as well. So that was a hit. I do make those for seasons, and they are handmade by me. I don't ship them from China. I do it myself. And then also I wanted to branch out and to be able to give my customers more than just what I create with my hands, but also give an opportunity for people that look like us to be able to partner together and begin to provide other products for customers that may not be interested in the skincare, but also other things that they may be interested in. So the blankets were a hit. They still are. And I do make those for the winter. And it's been phenomenal, and I'm truly grateful for that. So learning to be creative, educating ourselves on what else we can do, because there's nothing really we cannot do. We're some of the most creative people on the planet.
Yes, indeed. Okay, and bringing us, looking here on shopblackstarnetwork.com, and you are the first up created collections and the featured founders this week. And so we're going to ask our sister, Dr. Nola Haynes, who we have been assured is not a spy. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But could you, Nola, please, any questions for our sister Pearline G?
You know, Miss Pearline, I love your name because my grandmother's name was Pauline. And so when I heard your name, it made me feel warm and fuzzy.
You know, I get that
I
all the
love
time.
those
And
southern
then he
names.
just automatically calls me Miss Pearline. So here we are.
I'm a Southern girl. I'm sorry that I had to. But Reese is right. Your website is gorgeous. And as someone who leans more natural, you know, always have, I'm going to ask a really black question. I'm looking at this beautiful, sleek website. And I know I've been using shea butters and soaps for a very, 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 very long time. So what makes your product stand out? What makes it different from the person on the corner in Inglewood selling it?
Okay. So what I would say to that is whenever I make product, I'm intentional with what I'm creating. It's not about how much I can sell, but it's about the ingredients that I use that's going to produce the results that I'm looking for, not only for my skin, but for the customers that use it. So I'm intentional with everything that I create. It's not about just doing what everybody else is doing. And I cannot speak to what others are doing. Everybody makes shea butter, everybody has soap, everybody has body mist. But the only thing for me is that whenever I create anything, I'm intentional. I'm doing the homework. I'm looking at what's going to work. And then my family are my biggest, what do you want to call them? The guinea pigs of the product. So I will send out product that I make for people to test before I even put it on my website. Does it work? What's the issues? What do I need to change? And I always do that. And then another thing that we also offer in our business is that we have consultations for anybody who has skin issues. We're able to create a product that's going to work for them. So that's one of the things that, you know, during COVID that we were looking at being able to bring to market is to be able to offer our customers their own product line and consultation, what works for the skin. So I was in the process of working on a product that would benefit skin for those who, you know, some of the things we deal with is eczema, right? Why do we deal with so much eczema? So I've been kind of going down the rabbit hole to learn what's happening with that. That can be from our diets that we, you know, we eat every day, what we drink, and what we even wash our bodies with. So I've been looking at some of the major things that affect our skin. And so that is the thing that makes me stand out. I care about what I create. It's not about how much money I can make. Of course, we want to make money, but at the same time, you want to keep that customer coming back, and you want to also be able to provide a product that's going to work for them, whether it is soap, whether it's a shea butter, and even in the body mist, you can actually take that body mist that we create and use it on your hair to create it as a moisturizer. So it's a multitude of things that you can do with our products, not just one thing.
Thank you so much, Pearline G, founder, Created Collections, joining us from Raleigh, North Carolina. Again, folks, just get right there to shopblackstarnetwork.com. She's first up. You see the graphic right there. Miss Pearline, I'm looking forward to seeing you in person one day, but in the meantime, I'm gonna rub some of this lotion and go get some more as well. So thank you.
Go right ahead now. Listen,
Yes, ma'am.
I've got the All Night for Men is on this way to Roland Martin. So please grab some when it gets there. I got some samples sent to you guys.
I might
Get that All Night for Men. That's one of my favorites.
You know what? Now, I might have to fight Roland. I ain't trying to fight Roland up in this studio, so I might have to just go and order me something separate, but that's okay. We appreciate you, sis. We'll talk to you again.
Thank you so much. Blessings to you and all.
Bless you as well. Before we go, I wasn't joking. I thought you were a spy, Dr. Haynes, but apparently you're not. What is this? What is this declaration? Nola Haynes is not a spy. Is this a podcast? Have you launched a podcast network? What's going on?
I did not launch a podcast network. I appeared for 20 minutes on the Find Out podcast back in December. And by the time they were done recording their podcast, I had an offer. So I signed a 2-year contract with Find Out Media, and my podcast that we've been building and working on since January finally released today. And it's called Nola Haynes is Not a Spy. And my first guest is Harry Dunn, of one of the Capitol Police officers from January 6th. And it was such a fun and an engaging conversation. And on Nola Haynes is Not a Spy, we do foreign policy differently.
That is wonderful. I know we all join you in congratulations. And yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, no question. Now, if Roland kind of snipe at you, you can just get on your podcast and hit back. No, I'm not going to start nothing. I'm going to start nothing. So thank you, Dr. Haynes. Thank you, Nola.
It's been a peaceful show.
It's been very peaceful. We're going to peacefully close out.
People on Blue Sky are talking about how we're smiling.
No question. Nola, Reese Mondale, thanks as always. And Carol, Terrell, Steve, Anthony, Ty, Marianne, the whole Black Star Network production crew, the best in the business. We'll get out this chair so that the good brother Roland Martin can come back in, and we will see you all tomorrow here on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the Black Star Network in every way. You see there on the graphic there, iPhone, iTV, Apple TV Plus, Android TV, Fire TV, Roku, Smart TV. I'm not even gonna read all the stuff because I'm gonna mess it up if I try, but just know, y'all know what to do. Keep it going. Join that Bring the Funk fan club. And we will see you tomorrow night. Same place. Actually, we'll see you tomorrow afternoon with Brittany Noble and throughout the day with all the shows on the Black Star Network. Holla.